What is the most insensitive thing you've ever been asked? Constantly. What's the worst call you've ever been on? Quote, don't ask firefighters, EMS this question. Don't ask nurses or doctors this question. Don't ask police officers or military this question. Stop it. Paramedic here. And I cannot speak for anyone except myself. But I don't mind when people ask. For me, it helps to talk about it because when I tell the story I can tell them what I did to try to save them, and it makes me realize that I did everything I could and that person just wasn't meant to survive. It's very easy to think, what did I do wrong? What could I do different, etc., but saying it out loud you realize you actually did do everything right and everything you could. Again, just my $0.02, and I cannot speak for anyone else in this field. I've been legit asked, so do you have PTSD because of work? By a friend's mother before. I don't even know how to answer that. Yeah. It's simply tacky. The way I see it. I'm paid to carry that weight, I knew what I signed up for. I love my job. And everything has a price to pay. However, that does not give anyone the right to pry. If I want to talk about something, I will. Are you going to make your sister's death a national holiday? This was because my sister died at 43. The first significant loss ever in my life. This was the 1-year anniversary of her death. And I knew it would be hard for me. So I requested the day off of work. This was a coworker who could name all the people she'd lost. So she bragged, since her brother died at age 14. And she said she knew like 30 people who had died since then. I used to put up with her weird quirks. But from that day on I hated her. And didn't remain friendly with her. It was the 1-year anniversary of the last time I saw my dad alive before he died suddenly of a stroke. I was visibly off that day at work, and when I told my boss that was why I was upset. He asked, when are you going to stop using your dead dad as an excuse? Quote, some people treat everyone else's distress as manipulation. They think that when you cry you're trying to make them feel bad for you. It's sick, but that's the truth. What an AE. When I told my mother I finally had a girlfriend, her reply was pretty classic. I recommend you be very cautious of any girl that's interested in you. What do you really have to offer? Not much. Quote, gee, thanks mom. I guess the girl was really just after my kidneys? Edit. For the record, I love my mom. This was her misguided way of being overprotective of her naive youngest son. Also for the record, I do have a lot to offer, and I have a smoking hot wife who's not trying to sell my kidneys on the black market. As far as I know. My ex-Mill ran into me and asked when I was due. Thing is, she knew I had miscarried a child with her son. One of the reasons we split up, and also knew because of that I could not have children. I just happened to have a still slightly swollen abdomen after a full and total hysterectomy at the time. Needless to say, I had a very hormonal and emotional response. I struggled with trichotillomania as a kid. My mom tried all kinds of things to help me quit the habit. But since it wasn't the root problem, just a symptom of anxiety, most of her attempts made it worse instead of better. I remember one time when my cousins were over for lunch. We were all gathered around the table, enjoying our food and having pleasant conversation. When out of nowhere, my mom announced to everyone, have you noticed that youve bop has no eyelashes? She always pulls them out. Quote, everyone turned to stare at me, and one of my cousins said disgustedly, why would you do that? Quote, I'm so sorry. I feel ya. As someone who still has this, it's quite maddening. The root cause is my OCD. I literally have to pull the same amount out on each side, or else it bothers me and I won't stop until I'm satisfied. I once had a huge gap between my lashes and had a friend point it out in front of our other group of friends. All night I was questioned and asked to see my lashes and told how weird I looked. I hope you're better now. When I was in Afghanistan a few years back, we had an aircraft go down. In 2018, I was asked by a member of my squadron how he could get a specific morale patch. The patch was made in memorial of the crew we had lost. The guy who asked me about the patch thought that particular morale patch was cool. When I told him that the patch was made in memoriam, he continued asking how he could get that cool patch. I didn't know what to say. It was super awkward for me. He probably didn't know what memoriam meant. How do I get memoriam? Quote, dude, I'm killer at memory. As a 19-year-old disabled woman, I've been asked tons of insensitive things. The most is probably a tie between someone asking me if I'm using a walker for the perks, and if I'm faking my disability for better accommodation at university. I can't handwrite, can barely walk without assistance, and can't stand for periods of time. What are the perks and where can I get them? Mom, are you gay? Me, no. Mom, I'm sure you are. It's okay if you are. Tell me and it's okay. Me, I'm seriously not. Mom. Mom, but you've never had a girlfriend. You must be. It's okay. I still love you. Me, okay Mom. But I'm straight. Spoke with her years later to find out my cousin came out and she thought I always was too. I'm still straight though. Edit. I'm in legit shock that my most upvoted comment has to do with my sexuality and how I told my mom I am straight. First time meeting my fiance's aunt. She mentioned that I was part Mexican. And her aunt's first question was, "Are you here legally?" Quote, I answered with my Pennsylvania accent. Yeah. I was in born Delaware County, PA. My family background is just Mexican. Quote, edit. Grammar. Anyone ever ask you if you speak Mexican? No, I speak American. I thought you were a lesbian. I broke my back when I was a teenager and am paralyzed from the waist down. A girl from school asked me, "Are you planning on killing yourself?" Quote, me. What? No. Why would I kill myself? Her. It's just. If I was in your situation. Well, her life must have sucked to begin with. Yeah. Probably just would have been the straw that broke the camel's. Never mind. One of my first psychologists literally told me that she would kill herself if she went through the same ST as me. Needless to say, I didn't see her again, but yeah. I relate. Lol. We've all sat down to a family dinner and said grace when my young cousin says to me, "So, you, E_T_, comma, how did your mom die?" Quote, why don't you just have a baby? Quote, asked a day after I told her I had a miscarriage. After seeing so many miscarriage-related posts in this thread, I am genuinely starting to think that a lot of people might not actually know what a miscarriage is. Caught my girlfriend of 4 years cheating. And after weeks of self-loathing decided to try and rebound. Ended up sleeping with a girl who always tried hitting on me when I was still in my relationship. While we're FG, she asks in what was an attempt at being sexy, "How does it feel knowing someone who you told you loved every night was doing this with someone else?" Single quote. I'm sorry. How was this an attempt to be sexy? Apparently she was into being choked, slapped, etc. So this was her attempt at getting me into it. Someone needs to learn about direct communication. Eesh. I have a seizure-like disorder. Chorea athetosis. They present themselves in these really inconvenient episodes where I lose partial control of body parts. One time, I was on a date with a dude. And after I told him of my situation, he said, "Wow, it'd be pretty hot to have you seize while we're FG. Think you could arrange that?" Quote, didn't bother with him after that. Do you really think you deserve better than my abusive ex? Quote, yes, you do deserve better. Indeed. I had a best friend die in a freak camping accident. A tree fell on their tent, killing them instantly. I was taking care of their cats during the time and ended up taking care of most of the logistics of cleaning out their house, canceling out their graduate program of study, collecting stuff from their place of employment, etc. because their parents were a wreck. I also helped coordinate the funeral and spoke at the wake. Because it was a friend and not close family member. I couldn't take much time off work. So was back at work much sooner than I should have been. All of the faculty and staff I worked with were informed that I was going through some ST. And mostly everyone kept their distance and were professional. This one faculty member who was a creep and had hit on me repeatedly came up to me one day and said something along the lines of, paraphrasing, "Why do you stupid Americans camp outside anyway?" While laughing. I was washing my lunch dishes in the public break room space at the time. And it was just the two of us. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Slowly turned to him and calmly said that if he didn't leave the room at thar very minute, I couldn't promise what I'd do to him. I was so furious and had to leave work for the rest of the day. People can be the absolute worst sometimes. Man, who would laugh about that? That's a horrible thing to say. I'm very sorry about your friend and that person who said that. Why do you stupid Americans camp outside anyway? Quote, where else are you supposed to camp? The great indoors. Why don't you have kids? Quote, I'm a 31F. If I don't have kids, the details behind that are mine and my husband's. So no stranger. It is not okay to ask me about my baby making machine. Kindly FK off. In a middle school English class. By a girl who would later become my friend. Hey, get my pencil out of the trash can for me. You're kind of a scrounge. Right? Quote. I was asked if I knew what I was putting people through by having cancer. I'm so sorry that I woke up one day and decided I wanted to have cancer just to inconvenience you. If I knew it wasn't convenient for you to worry about me, I never would have decided to jump on the cancer bandwagon. Thankfully never had cancer. And hopefully never will. But as a kid got in a pretty serious accident that meant daily physical therapy for hours on end for over a year and a lot of time in a wheelchair. I wasn't of driving age yet. And honestly, probably couldn't have driven myself even if I could. One day my mom was late to picking me up, so I was waiting in the lobby and the receptionist basically said, "Do you even say thank you? Your parents have to deal with a lot because of you. Driving you in and out of here every day. Do you even show them you're grateful?" Quote, like yes, I do. But also, who the HL are you? Dude, I hate people like that. It pisses me off like STFU. The receptionist was upset they had to almost work a full 8-hour day because your parents picked you up late. What a weird, shitty thing for them to say to you. That's the white in you, other black people, when I do something that isn't stereotypically black. I'm half black, white and black people are literally the only people that bring it up. I worked as a waiter for a few years in high school. Elderly gentleman came up to me and asked, is it okay to be dealing with food with all that acne? Quote, my parents had a restaurant and they hired this sweet little 14-year-old who was super keen to work. She had a birth deformity in her hands that left her with one thumb and one finger on each hand. She would deliver the plates one at a time. For obvious reasons. A rude old man obviously didn't look at her hands and lectured her on how if she wants to succeed as a waitress she needs to learn to carry multiple plates. She nodded and was polite and continued to wait on them. My dad didn't want to embarrass her further by making a big deal in front of her, but when the table left he followed them out and informed the rude old dude about her hands. All his family were super embarrassed and they haven't ever come back. By my mom. What if you just had sex with a girl? Just to see what it's like. You might like it. I'll give you money. Quote, as a gay guy. This shocked me and completely made me lose respect for my mom. You know her brother's death is her fault? Quote, asked me by my mom. At the hospital. When I was 6. After we just got into a car crash and he shielded me and took most of the damage which killed him. She blamed me for his death for 11 years after that. Edit. Whoa, thank you for the gold, stranger. I hope you know it wasn't your fault. And that your mom is a terrible person for that. Hope you've healed from that red heart. Thank you, that's sweet. I am learning to heal from it with the help of my amazing girlfriend. Whenever you think of this ugly thing your mother said, remember he loved you. Loved you so much he protected you up until his last breath. And a not-so-kind FK your mom from an internet stranger. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos.